the News Channel 5 network. This is Open Line.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Open Line. It is February. Hearts are everywhere. Tonight's Open Line topic, we are talking about the heart, your heart health. So very important, not just for me, for the folks sitting next to me because they're involved in this field, but for all of us, because we all have a heart, obviously. We want you to take your heart seriously and your heart health seriously. If you have questions tonight about it, go ahead and give us a call. That's what Open Line is about. It's a chance to get advice, answers to your questions tonight. We're going to put that number up on the screen in just a moment. There it is. Look at that. I love our producer, Taylor, in the back. But first, let me introduce you to our guest tonight, folks that you'll be talking with as well. We have Misty Sharpe here from the Adult Congenital Heart Association, right?
Yes.
But I came to know you when you were at Vanderbilt Hospital working as a nurse on the pediatric cardiology floor.
Yes.
Thank you for being here tonight, Misty. So glad you're here. Also, Dr. Dan Munoz. Did I say that correctly, Doctor?
Did.
Thank you. Fantastic. Also at Vanderbilt, a cardiologist. Thank you all for both being here. You bring both two different perspectives, but we're talking about the heart tonight. We invite people to call in with their questions. I do want to start off with telling us how you got involved in the fields that you're in. And Doctor, if you would start first, why cardiology?
Yeah, no, so I appreciate the chance to be here. And, you know, as a college student and then as a medical student, role models were a big deal for me. And both growing up and then into my education, there were cardiologists who I just looked to as examples and admired how they thought about problems and also how they treated people. And it was one of those, I'd like to be like that.
Wow.
And so that's the short story to the long track. But it's been very enjoyable.
It is a long track, I know that. And tell us what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm a practicing cardiologist at Vanderbilt, just around the corner here. And I take care of patients in a few different settings. So I take care of patients in the intensive care unit who are in sort of the sickest parts of their illness, heart attacks and related issues. But then I also see patients in the clinic in an effort to keep them from having heart attacks or the next heart attack. So it runs the spectrum, but it's a very satisfying spectrum to sort of be a practitioner in.
And you're dealing with adults at this point?
Correct, yes. 18 and over.
Okay.
That's right.
Misty, tell us about your interest in cardiology. It really, it pressed itself on you, didn't it?
You could say that.
It started at birth.
Yes, yes. So I was born with a congenital heart defect, actually two different congenital heart defects. So I had coarctation of the aorta, which is a narrowing of the main vessel that provides oxygenated blood to the body. And I also had a bicuspid aortic valve, where that has 2 leaflets instead of the normal 3 that most people have. And so I was actually not diagnosed beforehand.
Okay.
So I was diagnosed at 4 days old and underwent my first surgery at 7 days old.
Wow.
After that, I underwent 3 additional surgeries, one of which, my 4th surgery, was a mechanical valve replacement. And so I'm happy to report that my valve is now over 25 years old. It's still going well, and I've been fortunate that I have not had a surgery since then.
It's amazing.
Yes.
What age were you last surgery?
I was 3 months shy of 5 years old.
Wow, that's amazing. Your little body went through a lot. But this really dictated your life path because you became a nurse and your interest was cardiology.
Yes.
How did you, I mean, really, obviously you were a patient, but when did you decide to take that step into making this your life's journey?
You know, I've always known that I wanted to do something in pediatric cardiology as kind of a way to give back. And so even from undergrad going into college, I knew that I wanted to do that. And I did get a bachelor's degree in communications and then went back later to finish my nursing degree. But it's just kind of been a stepwise process to working in the PCICU at Vanderbilt and then working in outpatient pediatric cardiology to now working with the Adult Congenital Heart Association.
And I've learned from you that one of the things about children who are born with congenital heart defects, which is the most common birth defect in the United States, isn't it the world?
Yes.
Yeah, the most common. 1 in 100 babies is born with a congenital heart defect. But the care is there for a lot of children, but it's when you take that step into the adult world where there are not a lot of cardiologists that specifically focus on the congenital heart defects.
That's right.
And that's where what your side of doing things now is raising awareness, that sort of thing.
Right, exactly, yeah. And I think that's something that's missed a lot, is that there's that lifelong care component. Surgery is not a cure, it's not a fix. And so definitely trying to create more awareness about adult congenital heart disease, ACHD programs, and the need for specialized cardiologists in that area.
We have so much to talk about over this hour, but again, this is your show, this is Open Line. If you have a question about heart health, your heart, what you need to do to make yourself healthier, go ahead and give us a call. We got the folks here to answer your questions tonight. Dr. Munoz, I just want to jump in with, what can we all do right now to make our hearts healthier?
It's a great question, and appropriate given that we're in Heart Month. So I think the first thing is to understand how common heart disease is. It's as you all know, but important for our audience to know, it's the leading killer in the United States and worldwide, and it doesn't discriminate by gender, by race. And so everybody's vulnerable, but at the same time everybody can be empowered to help themselves. And so in terms of what you can do, I think I'll say that the most satisfying heart attack that I treat is the one that never happens. It's the one that's prevented, and that's where individuals can be empowered to follow really important patterns of healthy diet, of exercise, of activity, of avoidance of certain things, tobacco and other things that we know lead to heart disease. And then really to be plugged in with great primary medical care, again with a focus on preventing some of the issues that lead to heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol. It's much better to get ahead of these things or stay ahead of these things than to react to them. We can react and do react often to them, but the best defense is a good offense, so to speak.
When folks are going through their annual exams, their physicals, what are the kind of numbers? I'm sure it changes for men versus women, perhaps age-wise, I don't know. But I do know that the blood pressure readings kind of just, the what's good, what's bad just change, just caused a little confusion. Can you add some knowledge on that, some wisdom?
Sure, I'll try to. So the numbers matter. It gives us an objective way to try to understand somebody's risk or vulnerability. You mentioned blood pressure. So there's no magic number on either end of the spectrum, but there are ranges, and those ranges have evolved with our understanding of science. And so, the ideal blood pressure, just to give you an example, is there's that top number and there's the bottom number. So that top number, the systolic blood pressure, we'd like it to be in the 1-teens or so, and the bottom number below 80, 70s or so. And as you creep up in either of those categories, it ought to catch somebody's attention, and it's certainly important to trend it over time, because as we notice, if we notice that somebody's blood pressure is trending up over time, better to react to that, to nudge it back in the right direction, either through lifestyle approaches or, if need be, with medication, just to prevent it from running high too much of the time. The reason we care about that particular number is that we have a good understanding that high blood pressure accelerates the wear and tear on our body and on our arteries specifically, and even more specifically on the heart arteries. And so to the extent that we can stay ahead of that as opposed to react to it, all the better. And so whether it's getting your blood pressure checked at a community health fair, at your local grocery store or pharmacy, or in your doctor's office at your annual checkup, it really does matter, and it goes a long way towards keeping you safe.
Should this be a once-a-year check, or should we be checking that more often?
It's a good question. It should at least be once a year, I think, in the adult population. I think there are certain people where a more frequent check is appropriate, particularly if there are high readings. If you have a high reading, you don't want to go a year until your next one. It ought to, the pattern of follow-up ought to be dictated by what those numbers are. But the key is that information and knowledge is power when it comes to preventing heart disease, and blood pressure is a really good example of that.
Another thing that a lot of people do at a physical is they get their cholesterol read. How does that factor into everything?
So we know that cholesterol is sort of an ingredient in the recipe of heart disease. And so there are good kinds of cholesterol and then not so good kinds of cholesterol that contribute to heart disease. Getting your cholesterol checked is an important thing to do as part of your routine medical care, because there can be abnormalities in those blood tests that can signal risk. And so as soon as we know about it, we're able to react to it and manage it accordingly on an individual basis. The numbers matter, but it also matters who they're attached to. That patient, building a full picture of that patient together with cholesterol numbers really informs how we as doctors think about who who requires medication, for example, for cholesterol, whereas who can do well with a good dedicated program of exercise and attention to diet. And so it's a key factor that we look at, a number or set of numbers that we looked at in addition to who the person is sitting in front of us, to really make as best a decision as we can about the sort of care that they'll require. I'm
keying in on two words you've already said, or one word you said twice now, diet. And there's so much diet information out there. What is a good standard heart healthy diet?
Yeah, so it's the fundamentals, sort of what I like to call the blocking and tackling of a heart healthy diet. So it's a diet anchored in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. You know, it's being smart about sort of the meats that we regularly intake. So I generally tell my patients, I don't absolutely restrict anything, but I tell them that there are certain meats that are more heart healthy. So white meats, particularly baked and broiled chicken, fish can be very heart healthy. And I'm not going to deny somebody who loves a steak their steak every once in a while. What I tell my patients, though, is that I'd like your steak to not be your regular Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night dinner, that it ought to be a special or sufficiently special occasion, just to try to limit red meat intake, because we know there's an association there with heart disease. So following those principles in general, and then I think, again, it's a fundamental issue, but it's a common sense issue, but I think it really matters here, portion control. You know, kind of what my parents tried to teach me growing up, which is you don't need to eat till you're full. You have an appropriate amount of food, and then you call it a dinner or call it a lunch. And so just that portion control piece, in addition to those principles I laid out, those go a long way.
Very good. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, your questions and more talk about heart health. Stay with us for tonight's Open Line.